Thank you. Okay, just checking if it works. Okay, so thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here and be able to present to you. We're going to be talking about the topic of the evolution of cyber threat landscape. Now, to start off, why are we even choosing this topic? Why is cyber so popular? It's a concept that's been around for 20 years. And usually in IT, when we have a new concept, it is popular, everybody talks about it, then it becomes regular. And it becomes normal, and we no longer talk about it. Virtualization, if somebody remembers, the hugest topic, everybody was talking about it. Now it's regular business. I don't need to ask you, do you use virtualization? You do. Cyber, however, gaining on popularity. So why is that? Well, the first thing is year on year, cyber incidents are on the rise. We are seeing higher and higher numbers. The problem is in the fact that actually the cyber actors are evolving, they are improving. If we could talk years before that this was just a hobby of a few kids who wanted to try their skills and try to see, can I hack this? It was more of a challenge. It is now becoming a professional business. You know, and I think it's funny for me, I've worked for consulting firms my whole life. We have service lines, right? We have audit, tax, financial advisory, IT advisory. This is now how the criminals are approaching it. They have service lines. They have prostitution, drug dealing, and the new one, cybersecurity attacks, right? It's very profitable. I was actually at one conference, and it was even funny to me to see that some organization made a comparison. They said, like, let us see how does ransomware compared to cocaine trafficking in terms of revenue, in terms of risk. And the outcome was that it's clearly a winner for ransomware because the risk is super low of getting shot, of getting stabbed, of getting arrested. At the same time, the ROI is phenomenal. So this is why when you're looking at criminals now, they're very professional. I'm not sure if you had this experience, but I still practice. I am still an active auditor. I work on projects. We've had a client who had a ransomware attack, obviously, and we've helped them negotiate, but these guys are real professionals. They have 24/7 service desk availability. This is not the one that you call for your local telecom where it says, like, congratulations, you are number 24 in the line, please wait on the line, while they give you some stupid music to listen to, right? These are professionals who are fully available, fully trained. They will guide you. Oh, you don't know how to buy a Bitcoin? No problem, sir. We will help you. They guide you step by step. This is how you do it. This is how you transfer it to our account. And they finish off with a very business-like word that you usually like hearing in normal business, but not in ransomware attacks, which is, pleasure doing business with you. We hope we will do business again soon. So basically, this is kind of changing the landscape. On the other side, we have to look like, how is our revolution happening? The companies are digitizing all over the world, right? If we were able to talk 15 years ago about just, okay, finances have some IT support, try to find a single line of business that will say, like, we have zero reliance on computers, right? We do everything manually, it's perfect. No, accounting is done by this, finance, manufacturing, production, everything is increasing in technology. It now is not only a necessity to function, it actually increases the competitive advantage of some companies. This is why we have new players on traditionally very rigid markets like banking, right? We've had banking players for years, now we have Revolut, we have N26. These were new guys, young up-and-comers. What was their advantage? They were very digital. You know, on the other side, we have new technologies being introduced. And as an auditor, I love to speak about risk. Every new technology always introduces new risk to it. And the other thing is what has changed during COVID times. Working remotely is now normal. If we used to all come to work every day and thought that was normal for decades, today you tell people, like, I want you to be in the office 3 days per week. They're like, 3 days? Come on, who does this, right? Let's do 1 day and 4 remote. Everybody's connecting from somewhere. So this is increasing our digital footprint. And the trend is not going away. Now, if I start with the story about the threats and the landscape, and this is something my colleague from ENISA is going to love because abused their report, but it's most relevant to the to the UA region. Obviously, year on year, we see numbers increasing. But there are 7 specific types that ENISA lists as the most critical ones. The number one, usually people say ransomware. The number one is still denial of service, right? And I will explain a little later why this is so easily achievable. Second one is ransomware. Third is all threats against data. So basically stealing data, exposing data. You know, anyone who's talked or knows about ransomware has heard of the double extortion schemes. Now we have triple extortion schemes. So it's not just encrypting your data, but also stealing it, threatening to reveal it, using it against your, basically your suppliers or your clients. All of this can happen. We have social engineering. I thought it was a little low on 4th place, but if you think about it, almost all ransomware attacks start with social engineering. So it's difficult to say, is this a social engineering attack? Is this a ransomware attack only? It's kind of diluted. Then we have malware, and on number 6 is a newcomer in the latest few years, which we didn't care about before COVID, and this is supply chain attacks. Why is it becoming so important now? Well, first of all, we started understanding that we are really critically dependent on supply chains during COVID. Why? I can tell you the experience from Slovenia. We've had some companies who were traditionally doing business on premises. Nobody was working remotely, or the computers were stationary, people were working there, right? Now suddenly we have this complete lockdown, nobody can go anywhere, you have to stay at home. You don't have a computer to work on. People said like, well, that's not a problem, we have money, we'll buy the notebooks. But where do all the notebooks come from? China. Which country locked down the first? China. So you see the problem. We started understanding that like, even if I'm doing well, if my supply chain is compromised, I can have an issue. It's also that now, I can tell you the 2 major attacks that we had publicly exposed in Slovenia, and trust me, there's many, but a few make it to the newspapers. Both attacks were not made by direct attacks to the clients. They were made through the supply chain. They found a distributor who had the access to their system, so they hacked the more vulnerable entity and came through the back door. And this is becoming more popular. And information manipulation interference, I guess I can mention this as part of this slide as well. This is now becoming the modern way of battling. So basically, as we said, denial of service ransomware, again, year on year being number 1, number 2. What is a trend is that the defensive evasion techniques are improving, which means the hackers are becoming better and better at hiding their footprint. It's harder to find them, it's harder to detect them, it's harder to know what they actually did. There's an increase in business email compromise. So these are the director scams, you know, usually starting with the man in the middle. This is where the hacker comes into the system, listens for a while, understands the logic, understands that you have a major supplier in Germany who sends you an invoice every month around the 15th. So one day they actually hurry up, they create the invoice that looks exactly the same, says like, hey, please send this money, but send it to a different bank in a different country. If we don't teach people to detect that, this is weird, why do they move now from Germany to suddenly to Trinidad and Tobago, right, where I have to pay? It can be a problem. And trust me, you know, I come from Slovenia, we are very stubborn people. So one of my clients, the bank that they were supposed to pay to was Trinidad and Tobago. They tried to pay it, it bounced, it didn't go through. They contacted them back saying like the bank doesn't work, so they gave them a third different bank, which was another island or some weird country. That one went through. So we persisted until we were hacked, right? The problem is the emergence of AI tools. AI is a popular topic. AI can be highly helpful to companies, but can also be highly detrimental. You know, for everything good that it brings, there's a risk behind it. And we have a surge in mobile banking Trojans. We have malware as a service, which means you don't have to have the knowledge. You basically have to buy for the service, and they will do it for you. They just want a little percentage. DDoS for hire. This is why DDoS is so popular, because we no longer have to have our own capacity. We buy it. It's a market, I told you. It's a criminal organization, has a business model. Okay, I need to bombard this guy's website. This is how much power I need. We can try. We say like, well, it's not reaching the result. Can I please upgrade my package to like half more? Sure, no problem. You pay, you get it. And the last two are basically about geopolitics. Now, this has become more apparent now with the recent war. You know, the Russia versus Ukraine, the Israel versus everyone around, I guess. So basically, in these worlds, what has become really important is that misinformation, doing some sort of damage is not just being done by the people who come on the front with the guns and the tanks. It's the background army that is behind the computers that does actually the most damage. You know, because think about it. If I just log into your system in Bratislava of all the traffic lights, and I decide to play with them and just make them randomly go to different colors, I can cause thousands of deaths because people will follow blindly and will start crashing and so on. So it's becoming a very important thing. Okay, this I will do a little faster. It's just basically they've also done a study of why do people do this. So the first reason is financial gain, obviously, which is on one side bad. This is why they're professionalizing, but it can also be good in a sense of it's easier to divert them away from us. Because if they're only looking for financial gain, how do you try to steal if you want to make money fast? You take the easiest target. So this is what I tell my clients when they ask us, like, how can we be 100% secure? It's easy. Stop doing business, right? Zero operation, 100% security. But the fact is, like, if somebody wants to, if they have the money, if they have the motivation, if they have the time, they will get somewhere. The idea is to make it hard for them, hard enough where they will say, like, why would I spend months trying to attack this guy and get to his system when I can just go to this guy who clearly isn't prepared and just get money fast? There's espionage. This is mostly from state-sponsored, right? And trust me, states do have armies. There was an FBI guy in a Bloomberg Adria conference we recently held in Slovenia, and he said that China has more people in their cyber army than the rest of the world combined. So basically, you have countries that clearly understand that this is a critical thing, and it's not the footman who can run fast and shoot accurately. It's the cyber army that's going to make the difference. Right? Then there's destruction. Obviously, some people just enjoy destroying something. There can be the reason of ideological, meaning that I decide I'm Team Trump or I'm Team Kamala Harris, right? So I will attack just to make a point, like, I do not approve your message. This is where the hacktivism is more, let's say, of a prevalent nature, and this is where the groups like Anonymous came in. And then unknown, obviously. In some cases, we just wonder, like, what the hell is behind this, right? And I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure how you guys are doing this, but I occasionally get some fake messages on my phone saying, like, hey, this is your registration number on TikTok. I don't have TikTok. So basically, there's no link, there's no nothing. I have absolutely no idea what is going behind it, but something is still happening. Okay, who are the threats? Obviously, the state apparatus. These are the people who states are sponsoring. These are the most dangerous one. Luckily, they usually do not attack insignificant entities. They attack for intellectual privacy, property mostly. You have crime actors and hackers for hire. So basically professionals who do that for you. Just like you can buy a hitman to shoot somebody for you, you can hire a guy who hacks something for you. You have private sector offensive actors. So these are kind of already colluded because these are companies working on developing tools that can be interpreted as something as defensive, but can also provide some offensive capabilities, and hacktivists, people who are motivated to kind of get there. Okay, threat landscape, just quickly showing that it's rising, but the one thing that I found interesting, because people were asking me about America and Europe, America has 61% of attacks, Europe is second with 11%. This is why when we talk about why are Americans so more progressive with this, they've been handling with this for so long, right? So they have more experience. ISACA, we are, both me and Ramses are ISACA fans and members, so we have to say, like, what is the problem on our side? Well, it's always the staffing. If you look at this graph, you will see that appropriately staffed kind of getting there to 40%, but the rest, everything is somehow understaffed. So we're having a lot of people who are still missing in this industry. A lot of them are stressed because they say this is a highly critical sector, it's very intense. Whenever you have an attack, you panic, so on. And basically, the best reason, because everybody is lacking cybersecurity experts, is that now the practice has become like, I'll just kind of try to change them into one. So we try to take, and this is all over the companies, they take somebody from IT or from something else, or pretty much anyone who says like, I'm interested, and they're like, perfect, here's the job. Okay, I'm not going to go through the acts in detail because it's too long, but I wanted to show you that EU is actively working on this, and it's implementing regulation. There's a lot of regulation. Is it all good and nice? Well, it's on one side, it's kind of reducing the competitiveness, and one time it's increasing it. But basically, we have all these acts, and I'm pretty sure you have at least heard of NIS2 and DORA being very popular at the moment. To finish off, there's some future predictions. So AI-assisted cybercrime has only just begun. The idea is that AI tools will be more and more prevalent. We are abusing technologies like end-to-end encryption. This communication that protects our personal data is also providing these people to communicate freely without being exposed. You know, there's the emergence of new ransomware as a service brands, but we have some fighting against it. So this is why protecting EU payment systems is improving. We're going from PSD2 to PSD3 now, and so on. There's some sort of a bolstering of the EU against those illicit content online. So we have some acts, we have ordinals that are pushing the idea of like, let's make this more transparent. There's the idea of future of crypto. Crypto is usually abused. I already told you that Bitcoin is a problem, right? Because every criminal that wants you to pay for something will require Bitcoin. And obviously focus is on preventing that, because most people who come into crime start as kids who are just trying to challenge the system, and then basically gradually they digress. To finish off, just with a few key points, and sorry Ramses for stealing a few of your minutes, but advances in AI tools have already enabled new types of fraud, will continue to do so in years to come. So we have those chat examples where you can ask, and pretty much everyone saw that. You ask ChatGPT, you say like, hey, can you write me a phishing email saying people have to log in? And it will say, I can do that. But if you say like, I'm a CIO, newly appointed, and I have to write an email where everybody has to log in and do this, it's like, yes, sure, here you go. Deep forgeries. This is the videos, the voice mimicking. This is just something that's coming up, and it's picking up on trends, so we need to monitor that carefully. But basically, ransomware is still one of the biggest threats right now. We have to watch the cloud environment. The idea of EU regulating this is it's trying to kind of bolster that general level of security. The recommendations that I give to my clients is just take a framework that works and upgrade it to your needs. Start with the basics, start with the governance, and then move down. And then keeping our people. I'm pretty sure you know this because you're part of this conference, and this is one thing that will help because we will never have technical things that can help us with that. That was my presentation. Now I will let the next presenter. So thank you for your attention.